How did we even get here? Can you remember how we got to Kumo Property Investing Academy?
Sure, Miranda, it's a long journey, and I really think it was from a desire to have information that I wish I had when I started out my career, right? And you know that I started up becoming in accounting, I worked in the banks, but I never knew about investing or how to make money beyond just my salary, how to prevent getting into debt. Those were never concepts that were taught to me at school or even at the workplace, funny enough, even though this was something that we worked with on behalf of clients. But when it comes to us, there was not the information that was made available to or known to us to say, how can we invest? How can we make money? How do we, those kind of concepts are not mentioned to us. So how about you?
Imagine my surprise when I met you and we had our potluck lunches and dinners, that if you have studied accounting and I have studied an MBCHB, I'm a medical doctor, and all I could remember was how everyone came at me with products. Yeah? Everyone was selling me something. Everyone was giving me a credit card. Everyone was selling me a defensive portfolio of insurances. Insuring what when I haven't even earned? So you can imagine. So it took me a long time. It took me getting into certain kinds of debt, business debt, car debt, before I realized I actually want some money that I can keep for myself. But no one introduces to you financial products in that way. And that was my discontent.
I think that's the biggest disservice that's done to young people, and I think even with the schooling system, in that we are not really taught about, how to make money. We're almost and keep it. We there's the messages that are taught to us is earn as much as you can and then spend as much as you can. So then you've got nothing left to save and you've got nothing left to invest, and if you have children, you've got nothing to leave for future generations. You want to go to school so you can earn as much money as you can. I can assume, going to medical school, one of the biggest motivators was how much money you're gonna make.
You're gonna earn.
Exactly, and that was part of the reason why for me, studying accounting was a big motivator, because I saw that people who did accounting, they became board members and they became CFOs and they made lots of money. That was a big motivator. So yes, you make this money and then you spend it all. So as soon as you are in school, I remember when we were at university, all the banks, promoted all kinds of banking products for us. I remember as much as I was at university, I already had like a banking package from one of the bank. I had a checkbook, well, back in the day, I had a checkbook, I had a credit card, I had clothing stores. I think I had like 3 clothing accounts.
Me too.
Yeah, 3 clothing accounts, and I was in university. I had not even started earning, but these companies, they don't care about you as a person.
No.
You need to care about yourself and to empower yourself with knowledge so you can do better. And this is why, it's so important what we do with Kumo, because it is sharing the knowledge that we wish we had when we started.
Absolutely. I recall when I did the housemanship, Sli, literally, it was 3, maybe 2 months into the housemanship. We already had a car company that took us out on a drive, a morning Sunday drive down to Hartebees. And we were driving these fancy cars. And by the time we left, and there was a bank involved as well, so we were treated to a branch and all sorts of housemen, boys and girls. We just started housemanship. You haven't earned three salaries. And our salary at the time, and I'm going to reveal my age here. So my salary at the time was like 1,281 rands. Already I am being driven into an A6, an A4, a V5, or I can't remember whether it was a V6 at the time. The heartbreaking thing is we come back and the boys have bought cars already. Yeah? The boys have bought cars already. They earn the same salary that I do. I remember some of them from medical school. They didn't come from rich families. It's not like their dads are going to finance these cars. I was wondering, I wonder how they're financing these, but the bank would cut it up. I'm telling you, to a point that it looks palatable, and they are going to spend all their salaries on these cars. So the debt that they come across, it's these financial products, which include a credit card plus car debt. No one has spoken about how you make the money, how you grow the money, and how you're going to keep the money. Heartbreaking stories. And I came back, I was a little upset that I couldn't afford these fancy, shiny cars. But at the same time, I was wondering, I wonder how are they going to finance? I'm just so upset that I don't have that money. But, you know, that's how we started.
No, absolutely. I think that's the trap that we all fall into as professionals, young professionals coming in, and all of a sudden you are given a pay slip where people see the potential for you to earn money, and they are already locking you into debt. And one of the things that ties us into these kinds of situations is because we come from backgrounds where we lacked
Yeah.
for so long,
Absolutely.
that when we finally, somebody presents a car for you, you've never had a car, you've been using taxis all your life,
Yeah.
and someone makes it possible with the salary that you've got. It's very tempting.
It is.
And you don't realize that by you signing up for that debt, what you are potentially giving up. You are giving up the potential to take the little that you've got and making
Make
it
it
grow,
grow, yeah.
and earning more. How can I use, even if it's 5,000 rand, but I don't have to earn it, or I don't have to spend it all. But if with your first salary you're already extending yourself, then it leaves little room for you to keep some money. It leaves very little room for you to even grow that money.
Absolutely.
And already you are starting on the back foot.
Yeah.
And it's going to take, and you see even now, even people who've been in their careers 10, 20, 30 years, they are still suffering from the effects of the mistake that they made when they started, because you just get deeper and deeper into debt, because now a house comes and a family comes and it's a school fees. You don't get out of it.
Yeah. Let's just go back to the car one. The car myth one that kills me, especially, is, oh yeah, by year 4, they are calling you. They are calling you. Your car is getting old, and oh yeah, you are going to be off the motor plan, and. So I think most of us end up changing a car, not necessarily because the car is not good. You've already bought a great German model car, but you get out of it because somebody says, and it's gonna come out of the motor plan, as if you couldn't service it. So you end up with this perpetuation of debt that is not really building wealth. And no one speaks to us about wealth and financial freedom. Yeah. So for me and my colleagues, what the entrampment is, now you can get this fancy one, we've got this new model, that is the first entrampment. And then the next entrampment is where you live. We buy houses. Somebody says, yeah, but it's a good investment, it's a house. But you go and buy the most expensive, your dream house, when you are not earning the dream salary.
Yeah.
You haven't built anything. There's no fat left, and you are buying in the dream suburb, the dream house, dream number of rooms, and it's just devastating, guys. We see that, and when I ask my colleagues who have been in the field for as long as I have, and it's like, yeah, it's been 20 years, and we can't buy another property because we are still paying this bond. But it's the bond that you are living in.
Yeah.
So it's not an investment,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
It's not building any wealth. It's not doing anything. And until I came to property investing and realized that, and when those colleagues die, what happens to their kids is very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because they have got all the other debt, including this house. And this house now has to be sold so that it can service debt number 1, 2, 3, and 11. And it really hasn't left the kids with anything, and there's no wealth built. Yeah,
Absolutely. And just to latch on to what you were saying about the devastation of being trapped into debt. So what happens is that we get exposed to debt, and as you pay the debt, they increase your limit. As they pay the debt, they increase your limit. It's like a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
Which you find yourself harder and harder to get out of. And so we find ourselves then overstretched, maxed out all our affordabilities and maxed out credit cards, so that when you start hearing conversations about using debt to create wealth, you can't even understand that, because now all you know is yo ikoloto, ngisabi ikoloto, I'm scared of debt, because you've taken on the wrong debt from the very beginning. Nobody has the conversations with us around saying how the wealthy use debt to create wealth. You know, you have conversations with people who say, nah, I want to buy my property cash. I want to, you know what I mean? It's all good and well, but how many people can honestly say they can afford to buy a house cash? How many years are you going to be saving to get to that point? And nobody has the conversation to us to say, if you structure your things properly, you can actually, you know, get so much so you can buy properties to invest in, or how you can use your affordability to create wealth. Not necessarily the money that you have. You don't even have to use your own money. No. That's the amazing thing about property. That's the amazing thing, yes. You don't even have to use your own money, you know, and nobody has those conversations where I say, Miranda, you're a doctor, you're probably going to have a qualification of X amount, right? How about you set up a property portfolio, which you can then rent out? You don't even have to use your salary. If you want, if I was those young doctors back in the day, I would say, I'm going to buy the properties that are going to give me the rental income, then I can have the toys that I want.
Yeah, but... And that's the thing.
But nobody's telling you how to structure your things properly. They just told, take all your affordability, buy these things.
Yeah. So,
you know?
I oh gosh, I like that. So the very first time I actually internalized the word of growing money and investing was when I went to a financial fitness course, and I was about 24. This is like 2 years after my qualification. So they made us do a budget sheet and whatever, and I remember the lady teaching us the bucket of saving, bucket of investing, and the bucket of where to spend. And I was like, is that even possible? I already had a car by then, right? Is that even possible? And now I'm going to get married. So, you know, the noise in my head is I'm getting married, I've got the car and the business, my practice is there, and I already had debt. But why didn't anyone tell me that? There's been so many opportunities. All the big banks and insurance companies have got investment products, but the first thing that they want to sell us is these defensive ones, right? Your disability cover first, funeral cover first. And they tell you that those are your first products that you sell. You sell. If I were to tell any one of my young kids, I would tell them to buy an investment product. Yeah, if you buy a funeral cover, 80 Rand, But can we talk about investing? Can we talk about growing the money that you are earning, and learning to appreciate the salary that you are in, because it's gonna buy you wealth. It's gonna buy you future wealth.
Absolutely. We need to use the income that we have to buy us future income, because the current income is going to come a point where it stops. And there might be life situations where you are unable to work for whatever reason. And a lot of us, if you can think about it right now, if your primary source of income, however you earn your income right now, it's a job, it's a business. If for whatever reason that were to stop tomorrow, how much rope do you have? How long do you have to survive until until you are in serious trouble? And that's something that we don't think about. And it's not just about having a savings that's important, having an emergency savings account, but even that can take you so far. It can take you maybe 3 months if you're lucky and disciplined, maybe 6 months if you're really, really disciplined. But beyond 6 months, what happens to you? So that's an important thing to just think about as you are earning your income, and you're talking about your savings buckets and your income buckets that you were mentioning earlier. You say, how much am I using for my current sustenance to live and eat and whatever? How much am I putting away for future use? That's also important. How much am I then using, to protect myself? Last. That's our opinion anyway. So all of those things are important. So for me, Miranda, I was fortunate in that at home we had what we call a back room, which my mom was renting out. And I think even though I had started working and gotten entrapped in all these, lifestyle entrapments that we all face as young professionals, it became real for me when my mom passed away, and she was working. She was a teacher, so a professional in a sense in that regard. And her salary immediately came to an end. The minute the death certificate is out, that's it. And so now we still had bills to cover. We still had things that needed to be taken care of. And an estate takes a good 2 years sometimes to wrap up. How does a family survive in that instance when you are not there for 2 years with no income? But fortunately enough, those rooms came through for us at the time because the income, at least it covered food, electricity, and all of the basic necessities. And that is how we were able to survive until her things got wrapped up. So when I then started working, and that thing was always in my mind, and I was, and because I'd been exposed at a young age, when I rented for 1 year, second year I bought my first property.
I see.
Yes,
Okay.
I did buy my first property when I was 23 years old, and it was a two-bedroom, and I'm paying the bond, and then interest rates are going up, and I'm like, I can't keep up anymore. And I can't get blacklisted or default on my bond. And I did, let me just rent out the other room so that I can make additional income.
Yeah.
So I'm renting out the other room and I'm able to get additional income and everything is okay. So that seed had already been planted that, you need to be able to find other source of income if you're running into trouble. And I was able to stay afloat. And that is, for me, the thought that got planted in terms of investing and adding additional income, because this was income that I didn't have before. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I think at the time it was like 2.5 that she was paying. Yeah. It was 2,500 that I didn't have before, and I had all the space that was unutilized.
Absolutely.
So
I like that story very much about how you didn't even notice that property investing, I'm a backroom is property investing. I grew up in the same situation. My mom's house has got two bedrooms and a garage, and at some point she didn't even have a car. The first lady that we rented out to stayed with us for like 9 years, and that pocket money was well budgeted for. I would go and deposit some money for my sister who was at university already, and I would go and buy our groceries and then buy my bus coupon as well. So property investing was there. And imagine if our moms had been taught that you are property investing, how far they would have been. She would probably have built 2 more and 2 more or something like that. But what I like, Sli, what changed for me really, what changed the money conversation was when I was expecting my baby and I was already going to turn 40. And I was just like, there are things I want to do with my child. There is a level of education I want to give her, and travel was already in my blood. So I knew that I want to travel with her all the time, and I mustn't be limited. But when I looked at my salary, the reality was it's not going to happen, with all the demands. And a baby is expensive, house is expensive, and everything. So the conversations of money and blatant, truthful conversations happened as a result of Neo, really. All along, I had been able to make money and then spend it all on travel, make money, buy a house, pay the minimum on the bond, and travel, right? So I had done that all of my working life until she came. I had to be thinking differently about how I want to spend my money. And I think the biggest problem that we have is these morning breakfast talks. We do not have them.
Yeah.
Amongst ourselves, we talk about how we're going to acquire shiny things. We don't talk about how we're going to grow money. We talk about acquisition and our dreams and the things that we want, but necessarily the honest truth about, I don't have 40,000 for a car right now, but this is how I'm going to build the 40,000.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening to us and who is 23 and 24, I would say find friends who can talk about that. Yeah, because you and I, that's what we talk about when we go to lunch is, actually, I want that car of 300,000. So where are you going to make the 300,000 first, Sli? And we are able to ask each other those questions and honestly discuss that, awunayo, you don't have 300,000. So the shiny thing of 300,000, can you just wait? And we've learned the waiting game, but we wait while taking action, hence property investing.
And I think just to follow up on what you're saying is that the unfortunate truth is there are no spaces where these kinds of conversations are held, right? You have to really go out of your way to have these kind of conversations. I think maybe it's a conversation for another video where we can talk about just how there is almost a stigma with speaking about money.
Oh, yeah.
There's a stigma about speaking with money, about growth, about wealth. So nobody speaks about it. We even shun people who are wealthy.
Yeah,
We've got names for them. Batwele, Bayaloya, all kinds of things.
Manenyo.
Manenyo. We don't even call money, we call it ipasela. So how then do we have money conversations when there's this stigma?
Absolutely.
So that is why, in the Kumo mentorship program, it's something that we talk about. We talk about money, and you must be okay with saying, I want to have 100,000 rand a month.
Yeah.
And nobody looks at you funny.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks you're Jenna, So it's so important that we have spaces where you can say, I want to take my child to the best school in the country, Hilton, here we come.
Yeah.
And I want to travel the world, and I want to live, and I want this for myself.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And the question is then, instead of blocking your mind and saying, I can't afford this, you open your mind to say, how can I? And then you come up with a systematic approach of getting there, right? It's all about having the plan. And that is why, having spaces like what we do at Kumo, it's so important because as Black people, as Black women, we've been through it all. We understand our communities, we understand the pressures of where we come from, we understand what the opportunities, because of the space that we've been in, we understand the rules of the game.
The rules.
And most people don't understand the rules of the game. And if you don't understand the rules of the game...
How do you play?
How do you play?
How do you play?
How do you play? How do you win?
Yeah.
Never mind just play, but how do you win? And so that is why it's important that if this is something that resonates with you, that you find a way of getting that information because other people are doing it. And they're winning at this game. And we are coming from a back foot in that, we don't come from money. We don't come from people that we can consult if we don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. But now we have to go out of our way to find that information so that we can be able to grow wealth and develop it, etc.
Absolutely. And I think our little scraps of information as we were grabbing them, our mothers were property investors. We didn't know that. But the story that I tell you all the time at dinner is, so I'm pregnant, very excited, and a colleague of mine that we joined this company together with was like, so how much are you going to spend for the whole year on nappies? I'm like, how am I going to know that? Every month I'll just buy, and I'm going to buy a packet every month and store it and whatever. And he's like, babies are expensive. Which school are you going to take your child? And I named this wonderful school. And he was like, okay, right, come to my laptop. And he opens his laptop and he's got a spreadsheet for 12 years. 12 years. And he says, so school is going to be 40,000 at escalation of 5 to 8%. You're going to be paying this much. By the time she's in year 12 in matric, you will be paying 100 and whatever, 1,000. I was agog because he was the first person, Tebo, to sit me down, to look at the reality of money and understand you need to plan how you're going to make that money if that's the life you are looking for, if you are not going to stay in debt. The nappies, he calculated how much, plus minus, he had a 4-year-old at the time, how much nappies. I'm like, you have money, you have a spreadsheet for nappies. He's like, those things, you will be so upset that the baby took a poo. So at Kumo, at our academy, not only do we talk about money, but we show you even the runway of where you are going so that you at least plan your life, at least do something. And that knowledge is very important. You might not use it all at the same time, but it is exactly what we want to do. And we want to do what we want our people. And like we say, our people come from where we come from. So it is brown people have got an advantage and other disadvantages that at Kumo Academy we think is literally so key for them to know, at least even if they can use this video in another 3 years.
Yeah.
But somebody has told them that there's a way of doing it.
Yes,
You don't have to
exactly.
steal money, don't have to stay in debt, and get out of bad debt, build something.
Absolutely, it's
Really
possible
like that.
to change the narrative, right? Because sometimes it even starts with you. It even starts with you, and your friends see you, your family sees you, and it just changes something.
It does.
And I think this is what Kumo is about. It's just about creating that awareness to say, guys, there is a way. There are things that may not have been accessible to you. And like I said, and you even mentioned that we even see financial advisors, but they don't advise on some of these things.
They know nothing about that.
And you may not be in a particular industry and you think you know it, but sometimes you don't. You know, for me, I was in accounting, but I was taught about how to do businesses financials, not a personal financials. You know, so all those things are important that we start having those kind of conversations. And this is what we are going to be sharing more about in our YouTube channel and also on all our other socials, just to bring more awareness about some of the things that I've spoken about in our head when we have dinners, but nobody is privy to.
Yeah, our dinners, our dinners, guys, have got notebooks, and we take out the calculators. It's hilarious, but I love it because every subject, you know, before you think about the lipstick, you already know where the lipstick is going to come from. The new TV, you already know how to budget for that TV and whatever. And I think we've built a great network in that way.
Absolutely.
I like that. And our kids are around while we do that. Because we are moms, it was very important for us to have the reality checks, the truth about money. And because they are playing around us, sometimes they are listening as we eat, and then they can ask questions and they can get definitions of things. They might not use it at that time, but we've planted a seed.
Absolutely. So now that we've had these insightful conversations and we want to be able to bring this to more people, right? So the best way to find out more about, you know, the programs that we run, our workshops, we've got live events that we do, and we also have a mentorship program. Please subscribe to our mailing list. The link will be in the description below. And if you want to get more videos like these, we'll be sharing more over the next couple of weeks. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and switch on the notification button.